August 1914. As the opening shots of the First World War echoed across Europe, the continent had not yet grasped the scale of devastation that was about to unfold. But out on the North Sea, the war arrived faster and fiercer than anyone expected. In a world swallowed by thick white fog and heavy gray waves, Britain decided to strike first. Their goal was simple in concept, but dangerous in execution: lure the German fleet out of its fortified base at Heligoland and destroy it before the war at sea could truly begin. No admiral on either side knew that this clash, occurring just weeks into the war, would become the first modern naval engagement in history, where surface ships, submarines, and airborne reconnaissance all collided in chaotic union. Heligoland itself was a steel fortress rising from the sea, guarded by light cruisers, destroyers, observation balloons, and U-boats lurking beneath the dark water. To punch through that shield, the British crafted a bold trap. The destroyers of the Harwich force would charge into German patrol lines at dawn, precisely when the fog was thickest and the risk highest. If German ships took the bait and pursued, British light cruisers and ultimately the powerful battlecruisers waiting farther out would strike with overwhelming force. This was a hunt carried out in blindness, with no radar, no reliable long-range vision. Success depended solely on intuition, experience, and the strained eyes of sailors staring into a world made of mist. At sunrise on August 28th, the North Sea resembled another planet. The fog blanketed everything, sinking ships and horizon alike into a formless white void. Waves slammed against bows, while the cold wind gnawed at metal and bone. Visibility dropped to a few hundred meters, sometimes less. Through this suffocating gloom, faint shadows appeared from the east. British officers squinted into the haze and caught the contours of German patrol vessels closing in. There was no warning, no subtle approach, only a sudden realization, then the eruption of gunfire. Shells tore through the fog, and the battle began instantly. HMS Rethusa, the flagship of the British destroyers, plunged into action, but was struck almost immediately. Enemy 105mm shells punched through her hull, disabled her forward gun, and sent black smoke rolling across her deck. Sailors sprinted through flames and splinters, fighting desperately to keep the ship alive. The other British destroyers were forced to fight while retreating, sending frantic messages through the thick haze. "We are overwhelmed," requesting immediate support. That distress signal jolted the German command into action. From Heligoland, light cruisers SMS Mainz, SMS KKL, and SMS Frauenlob surged forward into the fog. They materialized like iron phantoms, firing their 105 and 150mm guns with precision. Their shells hammered the withdrawing British ships, whose fire grew weaker as ammunition and fuel dwindled. But from the southwest, something far more terrifying was approaching. The sea began to tremble with a distant, growing thunder. Through the drifting fog emerged three enormous silhouettes: HMS Lion, Queen Mary, and Princess Royal, the Royal Navy's most powerful battlecruisers. Each one carried 13.5-inch guns, weapons capable of tearing a light cruiser apart with a single well-placed hit. When the British battlecruisers opened fire, the North Sea erupted. Towering columns of water shot skyward as massive shells crashed into the sea. The shockwaves shook the air, scattering fog like smoke from an explosion. The German crews were stunned. They had not expected Britain to commit such heavy ships so early, nor had they imagined the raw destructive force that now bore down on them. What followed was a massacre in the mist. SMS Mainz was smashed by repeated hits, torn apart and engulfed in flames before slipping beneath the waves. SMS KKL attempted to flee toward Heligoland, but was overtaken and destroyed within minutes. SMS Ariadne met the same fate, reduced to burning, metal drifting on the surface. German distress signals flickered in and out, fragmented by smoke and confusion. By the time the commanding officers at Heligoland understood the scale of the disaster, it was far too late to withdraw. U-boats attempted to intervene, but they never had a chance. The sea was too rough, the fog too dense, and the British battlecruisers too fast. Without the ability to close the distance, the submarines were effectively powerless in this opening clash of the war. The U-boat armed Germany's future terror of the seas played almost no role at all. When the sun finally broke through and the fog began to lift, the survivors of both sides witnessed a haunting scene. The water was littered with twisted black metal and burning wreckage. More than 700 German sailors had perished. Many of the survivors were so cold and exhausted that they could barely hold onto ropes. As British rescue ships pulled them from the icy water, Britain, too, had suffered damage, with several destroyers nearly crippled, but the victory was unmistakably theirs. Later that afternoon, a brief, bleak message reached Berlin. The Battle of Heligoland bite severe defeat. Shocked by the scale of the loss, Kaiser Wilhelm II ordered the High Seas Fleet not to engage the British Navy again without overwhelming advantage. For the next 2 years, Germany's most powerful warships remained effectively caged, emerging only for the titanic Battle of Jutland in 1916. Heligoland Bight was not the largest naval battle of the First World War, but it transformed the very nature of naval warfare. For the first time, surface ships, submarines, and aerial observation operated together in a single battle. It showcased the devastating power of battlecruisers, highlighted the enormous value of reconnaissance and communication, and demonstrated that speed and information, not just armor, would define modern war at sea. On that cold morning in the North Sea, amid fog, flame, and steel, the Battle of Heligoland Bight did more than mark Britain's first victory. It opened the door to an entirely new era of naval combat, an era that would shape the rest of the 20th century.